About this album. I mean, like, because I'm a critic. I, write just straight album reviews for like The Voice and Vibe and Spin and all that. So I can tell you now, like, what some critics are gonna try to quote unquote get you for on this album.
Okay, what do you think they're gonna try and get me for?
Well, like, I think there's gonna be criticism that you worked with Diane Warren and David Foster
On one song. Well, I wrote. See, the one song that They Can't Take That Away, that song, I basically went to Diane with that song. My issue is, I've always written most of my ballads with Walter. We are not working together anymore.
Right.
And I had this idea in my head and on tape recorder. And I had basically 90% of the song written. And I needed someone to play it. And, so I went to Diane and I said, I have this thing. Will you do it with me? She doesn't collaborate. She doesn't co-write. She only writes for people. She's been asking to work with me for a long time. And she makes fun of me. She's like, you've written more number ones than me. I'm gonna.
So she doesn't collaborate.
No, she never collaborates.
Oh,
she only gives people songs.
People song, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha.
She never. I mean, it might have been like the last time she did it was like 4 years ago or something. But it's not something she likes to do. She likes to write her own songs in her little room, and that's it. And that's why that song that we wrote together, Mariah's theme, is very me.
Why'd you say it like that?
Because that's what I called it. I've gone through so many different incarnations, but that song was called They Can Try. It was called They Can't Take That Away From Me. It was called Can't Take That Away. And I liked They Can Try because Can't Take That Away seemed like it was too common. And then I threw Mariah's theme on it at the last minute.
That's a beautiful song.
Thank you. But the point is, we worked out the last bit of it together, the bridge, and then I was like, okay, and then I'll go up. It's very my style of song. It's less, I mean, her style, like her typical style would be like a Because You Loved Me, or that new NSYNC song that's out now. Right, it's more that. My style is much more this. This is very Vision of Love / album cuts that have never been released off like previous albums, like Vanishing or Outside, which I don't know if you ever heard. Like, it's.
I love Vanishing. I'm not sure about Outside.
Yeah, Outside was on Butterfly.
Okay.
But I tend to write in that style sometimes, but this is like a more commercial version. So I'm glad that I work with Jimmy and Terry on it, because I think that overall, the ballads on this album, except the one I did with David and Diane,
So you collaborated with them on that one, or?
I collaborated with who? Which ones?
Dave. No need to mention.
No, I'm jumping around. Oh, I collaborated with David. No, I did collaborate with Diane on that other song.
One. Okay, that's
but
right.
it was it's different than when Diane Warren gives someone a song and says, hey, I got a great song for you. I don't do that. She's done that to me. I don't take song. I prefer to write mine, especially something like that. It's a very personal song.
Okay, but why wouldn't you take a song from somebody if they had a great song?
If I felt it was great, undeniably, I couldn't write something better for myself, I might. But I think that my fans, my true fans, know the difference when I'm singing something I wrote. I mean, I have never sung something anyone else wrote except when I did that Whitney duet or the remakes. And just the feedback that even the girl Teresa that was there tonight that you met, she started out as a fan. She wrote notes, she came to concerts, she did all these things.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
And she finally started working as a receptionist for a management company like 4 years ago. And when I left that whole situation, they were like, well, you can stay here. She's like, well, basically I came here for Mariah. I wouldn't do this for anybody else, so I'm leaving. And she came, and now she basically, runs my office and takes direction from Louise and does everything. So she's one of the really, truly devoted people. And I bounce things off her sometimes, like, how would you feel if so-and-so and so? And she's like, I mean, I personally like that you write your songs. I personally like, if, can you write most of them? You know what I mean? Like, she, really, there's a difference. So anyway, with that personal, Diane doesn't even know I called it Mariah's theme. We worked it out. I finished the lyrics alone. It's basically more from me than, I mean, I don't want to take anything away from her, but that particular song is much more my thing. And then doing with Jimmy and Terry, who really felt the song, they're like, you did this with her? Like, it's much more, they're like, we're getting your vibe from it. After Tonight, that I did with David and Diane, is very a collabo of the three of us. Like, that I can...
like the big pop ballad of the album.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that that'll ever be a single. It's going to be a theme song for a show in Japan. It's like, I doubt that I would put that out in America, because it's just not my favorite song off the album. But,
when you worked with Jimmy and Terry, did you mostly work with Jimmy?
Both of them.
Okay.
Well...
because people usually just work with one or the other.
Well, I work with Big Jim, who's another guy who...
Jim, right?
Yeah, and we all kind of sat in the room together and we bounced ideas off each other. Actually, Jimmy gave a really nice quote to Yvette Shore today.
I'm sure Yvette would give it to me.
Did she give it to you?
Yeah, she said she's gonna call me Monday.
Yeah, it was really nice. In the making of this album, musically, creatively, was doing the big ballads, quote unquote, 99% of them with Jimmy and Terry.
Well, you had almost done a tribute to them with "Always Be My Baby" remake.
Yeah.
Say Through the Sands of Time.
Oh, definitely, and that loop was their song.
Right.
Yeah, it was. Do
Tell me
you
if you
feel the
still
same way too?
Tell me if you
Yeah,
still care.
but they. Do you have that collection of their CDs of all the songs they've written?
No, I think that's just. I think that was just a promotional thing.
But you got.
But I'm a long-term Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis fan, so I know all this. So like SOS Band.
But do you know
Sherelle
like the
Alexander
obscure ones,
O'Neal.
like you still.
Oh yeah, Tell Me You Still. I mean,
Like-
that whole album was great.
but-
Fantasy and Heartbreak and all that stuff.
That was on her album, Song Fantasy. I didn't even know that.
Fantasy and Heartbreak. They did, because that was back during the time that they used to do half sides. They did a side for her. That's one of the most brilliant pieces of '80s dance music. It's Used to Hold Me So Tight.
That's my favorite.
And I'd rather spend the bad times with you than spend the good times with someone new.
Oh, I vaguely remember that.
Fantasy and Heartbreak, and one other song. And then they did all the Patty Austin sides. Like
Yeah, like
Heat of
like
Heat
in the
and-
heat of it.
Right.
But see, I'll sing when I sang "Used to Hold Me So Tight" to them. They're like, "Whoa, that's an obscure one." Like, you know that?
Right.
Like, I mean, I would sit there and sing their little like all the Alexander O'Neal
Yeah, stuff,
records,
Sherelle.
but obscure ones, but they're 4 CD things. You should get it if you can, because like sometimes you forget.
Right.
You
No,
know,
I
like
feel-
in going
yeah.
through, it's really cool to
No, I
listen.
know. Yeah, they're very unsung. But you know, like you're gonna get a lot of heat over Bliss because everybody can say, "Oh, she's doing those showy, high notes again."
But you know what?
But black radio's gonna love it, and it's gonna be played
The
on like
Quiet
Quiet Storm for till the end of time. You know?
Exactly.
But the critics are not gonna like it.
Well, you know what? The critics didn't like. You know what? I agree with a lot of the critics who said early on I was showy in terms of using that aspect of my voice a lot and over singing. I don't have I don't disagree.
Like, in what record would you say that you did that?
I would say the second album, I felt like I got to prove something. But you know what? I was really young when I did those records, and I was really like David loved that part of my voice. David Cole was really like, sing your highest note. Like, he was very encouraging me to do that. And I think that's because he was a musician and he just couldn't fathom the actual note, like that it was so high. And he liked that. And a lot of people like that aspect. It's something that not everybody can do.